Her work is marked by critical acclaimed and nuanced engagement with bilingual literary expression. She is a recipient of A&K Memorial Prize of Young Kannada Writers 2012 and Barbara Naidu Prize for the Personal Essay 2018, and a Toto funds the Arts Award for Creative Writing 2021, which recognized her for outstanding work in both English and Kannada. She continues to be an important contemporary voice bridging linguistic and cultural narratives. Uh, she around? Yes, please. Please. So, talk a few words about the film and then we would take up the question and answer. Sir, would you like to be on stage for the question and answer? A big applause to our. So it's the floor is open for question and answer. So please, you can raise your hand. The mic will come to you. Sir, please be seated, sir.
Mr. M. N. Swami is the editor of the film. He has edited all my films since Tabarana Kathe. And he also won the National Award, not for editing, but for costume designing for Hasina. Mr. Samant, my associate director, you have seen on the screen. He plays the role of Singha. He's an actor, trained actor, but he joined my team as associate director. He has been with me for the last 40 years. Both of them have contributed a lot to my films.
So sorry for the confusion. We'll have a discussion with Ms. Amulya. She will moderate the session, and Girish sir as well.
Thank you. Since the editor of the film is here, why don't we begin, talking about the non-linear narrative of the film? Either of you can actually talk about it. Was it something that was decided at the script stage or in the editing room, perhaps?
No. If you look at the film, the whole 18 track was designed at the scripting level itself. This is based on a short story by Amresh Nugudoni, one of the finest writers of Kannada, recent Kannada literature. I was really looking for a story wherein I can play with the time and space. And I came across this story. I thought it really fits my requirement. Well, the story is not like this, but I decided to split the narrative into 3 dreams. Basically, the story doesn't have this kind of a dream. So I wanted to make a film about dreams itself. So I split the narrative into 3 segments. Iria's dream, Rudri's dream, and the third is our dream. Wishful thinking. Why did I cut this film narrative into 3 parts? Simple reason. Before this, I had made a film called Gulabi Talkies, wherein I talked about the politics of image itself. What we see on the screen is not value free. It's always, the maker's perspective, political perspective is visible on the image itself. So you can't say it's simply I just took the shot like that. It's not at all. You can't say that kind of thing. While I was doing that film, I thought, isn't it so even with the narration? See, if we are walking on just imagine a such situation wherein we are walking on the street and we come across a small accident. A Innova has hit a auto rickshaw. We go and listen to both the stories. The driver of the Innova, the owner of Innova, and the auto rickshaw driver. Even before we realize what has happened, we have already made the decision. If you are from one perspective, suddenly you decide these auto rickshaw drivers are a big nuisance. So the Innova driver is right. And if you simply have a kind of a sympathy towards this kind of working class, then you would immediately jump to conclusion that the auto driver is correct and the Innova driver is wrong. So you've already made the decision even before you try to find out what the truth is. My argument is that all our attempts to find out facts is not to really find out what actually has happened, but to substantiate our preconceived notion or our arguments. So that's when I was thinking about this, suddenly it occurred to me. Well, we have this kind of stories in our literature. See, during my childhood, I used to read Chandamama a lot. I'm sure you all know what is Chandamama. And in Chandamama, there's one particular series, which always attracted me a lot. That is Betal Panchavishan. Vikrama Vretal. If I say Vikrama Vretal, you all know because you have seen the serial. There, you see this kind of a politics operating. Vikram is carrying the Betal, and the condition is that if he opens his mouth, the Betal is going back to its destination. The Betal wants somehow to make him speak so that he can go back to his. So he narrates a story, a very simple story, with lot of fractured narration. There is no coherence in the story. And then he comes to the end, conclusion, and says, see, doesn't it look so incongruous, absurd? Then he is forced to open his mouth with Vikram. And he says, no, you have deliberately left out certain details. And he narrates all those other missing parts, then the story looks coherent. So when I am narrating certain things, if I want to impress you, I will tell you only one version of the story. And if he wants to impress you, he tells the other version of the story. So that way, even when we are narrating a story, even when we are looking at certain things, we have a political decisions already made. I wanted to highlight this. This is very important especially when it comes to Dalit politics. I wanted to highlight that. See, that's why I split it into 3 segments. The first is this man's dream, Aria's dream. Aria, the dream is real, but the landlord's henchman or the caretaker, he has something, some other reasons to tell that dream is not true. So whereas in the second one, it's not the landlord, but a progressive thinking man, that is Basanyappa. For all his radical thinking, he says, if only I can shatter their belief, he becomes progressive. In both the cases, you have problems. Both the politics is faulty. So I wanted to bring this highlight. And I said, then we should have one more dream, which is our dream. What is that? Area should dig a pit, but not to bury the dead body, but to plant. But he should not, like Basaneka, should forego or forsake his belief. He should still keep the belief because that gives him the strength. So he should keep he should keep his the faith, yet change his profession. Thereby, they become progressive. So both Madhya's this one, as well as Basanappa's decisions are wrong. They need to find their own way of finding what is real, what is. So it's to stand outside the narrative and say this is faith, this is blind faith, That itself is wrong. I wanted to say all these things. So I find there's a lot of scope in the story to say these things. Of course, the story is not like this, but I have invested all these meanings into the story.
No, it's great that you started with the politics of dreams, because that was something that struck me also, because there are basically, when I see, there are like three dreams. There are dreams of these people, Shivana and everyone, the dream of mobility.
Yeah.
They want to sell their land and then who can move. At the same time, our protagonist Iria's dream is more simple dream. I want meat, I want some sarai, I want this one. But what struck me as very interesting is Ruthri's dream. So when she dreams this one, her clothes are better. It's not plastic bindige, it is steel bindige. So she has the dream of dignity. I think this it comes out very well. So thank you for that, because I wanted to ask how that. So one more question I had was using comedy as a tool to critique casteism, because when watching people laughed at that, who did on Satya Nanige Uta Sigute. It's there is, in English we say life begets life and death begets death. But here we have death begetting life, because only if he dies he can eat. So that, I wanted to, ask how did you decide to bring that comedy, and also the actors who are known for comedy roles?
See, what happens whenever we start filming in Dalit narrative, it's almost a sad story. We somehow try to sketch the characters in such a way that there is no life in the life, this one they are leading, which is not true. I wanted to say, in their simple life, there is, comic relief. They are humorous. There is between husband and wife. In fact, when I showed this film in Pune Film and Television Institute, of the professor said it's the most this one, kind of relationship between husband and wife. They're very warm. There's some kind of subtle eroticism, and that he thought is brilliantly brought out. And I wanted to bring that in. It's not a sad story which I am trying to say that Dalits are oppressed and this one. No, there is oppression. Yet there is some kind of integrity
Joy
within him, and he wants to assert himself. He wants to assert himself. So when the what is the two persons come and carry him to the wadi, and then Mardaya says, "Take him back." He says, "You carry me back." See, that is the kind of integrity, and that's the kind of assertiveness. It is there in them. Most of these kind of when we talk about people who are exploited, we make them too submissive, which is not the case. That element, I thought, this story provides me that element, and I wanted that to be highlighted, which is the best, the comedy, comic, really, between. It's not a comedy like the thing which we see in regular films, deliberately trying to do something comical, but it's a kind of a very affectionate relationship wherein you have all these elements. So that's why I brought in comic relationship right through their relationship.
So, one of the images, that repeats itself throughout the movie is this tree, this leafless tree, but you have people's wishes like harakegadu, tied into that and everything. And, often when they wait for Siddha to arrive, they stand next to the tree and wait and look at night as well as at the morning. And it somehow reminded me of one more lifeless tree, which I from the theater, the Waiting for Godot, where they stand in front of tree and just wait, and this man comes and solves problem, but he never arrives. Unlike here actually Siddha comes. So I wanted to this image of like how did you think about this intertextual sort of a thing, and this figure of Siddha, actually that he is more interesting to me. He's a hope, sign of hope for some. In fact, they have this fighting relationship with that. She turns her back, but at the end he comes and helps. So this figure of Sita, can you talk about it?
In fact, In our dream, third dream, Siddha is not the caregiver or the life giver, but he is a friend.
Yeah.
I wanted that, because you see what happens when the relationship between the devotee and the God is always, we look up to them and then pray them. I didn't want that kind of relationship. As I told, while writing the script, we decided it should be a kind of a friendly relationship in the third one. Because in the first two dreams, Siddha is manipulated once by the progressive farmer, once by the Matadaya. He is the signifier of the system. So I wanted a different kind of a relationship. So I made it very friendly. And also, simultaneously, I was thinking of, what should be their relationship? Then this occurred to me, why not give him a rope with conch on one side and the bell on one side, and he gives it to these two people, and then he starts walking backwards. Then it unfolds like an umbilical cord between these people. We need that umbilical cord between our belief and the act, deed. So that's why I thought of that image, and I think it worked very well. Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned that this is a relationship of friendship, because usually the hierarchy between the God and the devotee, the divine and the devotee, is usually very Brahmanical. Because if you look at the Dalit, this one, or somehow from Mangalore's side, Tulu culture and everything, it's more equal. It's always normal people who are elevated, like Siri or someone, and that's why it's more equal, I think. So it's a great choice to make it. In non-Brahminical practices, the relationship between the devotee and the God is equal. Yeah, and that also leads me to this question where Umashri's character Rudri throws water at this god. So can you talk a little bit about that? Because that again took me to this theater, the kind of when Henry Gibson's this one a character closes the door, something like that. She's throwing it, so it just reminded me of that. Yeah, while writing the script, I didn't have Waiting for Godot in my mind, but I think Gibson has played a major role in many of our decisions, because closing the door is there in many of my films. Opening the door is there in Thai Surface, especially. That becomes a prime motif in a film, the door and the water. Here the film begins with water and ends with water in one sense, because the life-saving water is there right through the film. In various places you see water, water, water. And here it becomes a kind of a protest, this one, motive of protest. Iria throws water on this man, Basanyappa. She throws on the God himself. Yeah. So there's some kind of a, they have that kind of a integrity. They have that kind of, self-respect. That I wanted to bring out. So I thought, why not use water right through the film? And that's how I came across this motive. I think before I open it for the Q&A for the audience, I just had a this kind of this question is more comes from what you said yesterday. You said that acting is not just actors; it is the costume, it is the lighting, it's all these things. And we are at a point in time, where filmmaking is reduced to just giving prompts in AI. So how does filmmakers or how does audience need to rise, not even rise up to the challenge? How do we react to something like this? See, in character sketching, there are many ways, there are many levels in in persona. Like, one is purely on the emotional plane. Character, the performer, the artist, can effectively convey the emotional plane, which many conventional acting you see all the time. All the actors are able to do that, but that is not acting. You have to bring out the persona. When I say persona, the person's decision is decided by their socio-political decisions and of this whole situation.
Yeah.
You need
Circumstances.
to, that circumstance, you need to bring that out.
Mm.
Only few people, few artists are able to do that
Mm.
because they can't go beyond the surface.
Mm.
If you go beyond the surface, then you can see the politics.
Mm.
You see what makes them do the way how they do. And Vansh is one such great actress. She can understand these things very effectively. There are many artists with whom I have worked. They are very good at getting the emotion plane. But this is a plane which is slightly above this emotional plane, and then further is the where you lift it to kind of a metaphysical dimension. So from banal emotional plane, you lift it to socio-political lane. From socio-political lane, you lift it to metaphysical lane. An actor who can capture all these layers is, I would say, is the finest actor. And Umashi is very successful in doing it because she's from theatre. She has worked with legendary directors like Vivi Garant, Prasanna, and CGK, Nagesh, Fritz Benowitz. So probably during that rehearsal time or somewhere, they must have ingrained these things in her. So that's the way how she prepares for a role is something amazing. I won't say the same thing to Birada, but Birada totally surrendered. So whatever you do, he's such a fine actor. He has all the facilities to bring out small, subtle nuances and subtle expressions. You just ask for that, and he would do. That is the greatness of an actor. When I was working with Charu, at one point I got stuck, and I said, Charu, now see, this is the situation. You tell me, how are you going to express it? He told me, Girishji, I am from a commercial industry. I don't understand all this subtlety on this thing. You tell me the situation, I'll show 10 different ways, and you choose the one which you think is right. Okay. So don't leave it to me. Yeah. Which is, that kind of openness is very important for an actor. Because you see, finally, it is not just that particular thing or just that particular action. The whole action has to fit into the overall design of the film, which is very important. What happens with mainstream cinema is that they don't look at the overall structure of the film. I am playing the main role, and I should be in the center of the frame all the time. I should do all these things because my fans want me to do this. That's not, you're not etching the character, you are projecting yourself. A good actor will never do that. And one good thing about Biradar is he always played minor roles, drunkard or a infected husband or some beggar or something like that. When I offered him the role, initially he said that he refused to do that. He said, "Sir, I can't handle the main role." I said, "I am there. You just do whatever I say." And he just did that. Look at the way how he laughs. It's such a fantastic kind of laugh. And it's very, what is it? When he laughs, you also start, loving him.
Very
Because
outwards.
yeah. That you need to have that kind of a openness in an actor, and then the acting comes out very beautiful.
I think we'll open for questions. Then first you and then him.
Yeah. Yeah, wait a second. The mic is coming.
Oh.
Yeah.
ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಲ್ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಫಾರ್ ದಿಸ್ ಫಿಲ್ಮ್. ಈ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಎಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಸಿನಿಮಾಗಳು ನೋಡ್ತಾನೆ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ ಸುತ್ತ. ಸೊ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಒಂಥರ ನನಗೆ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಥರ ಆಯಿತು. ಇದೊಂಥರ ಈ ಆರ್ಟ್ ಗ್ಯಾಲರಿ ಥರ ಪ್ರಶಾಂತವಾದ ವಾತಾವರಣ ಸೃಷ್ಟಿಸಿತ್ತು. ಸೊ ಎಲ್ಲ ಈ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಸಿನಿಮಾ ಮಧ್ಯೆ ಈ ಸಿನಿಮಾ ನೋಡಿ ಒಂಥರ ಕಬ್ಬನ್ ಪಾರ್ಕು ವಿಶಾಲವಾದ ಇದ್ರೊಳಗಡೆ ಬಂದಂಗಾಯ್ತು. ಇದೊಂದು ಮೆಟಾಫರ್ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಸೊ ನನಗೆ ಎರಡು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇತ್ತು. ಒಂದು ಸಿನಿಮಾ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಸಿನಿಮಾ ಆಚೆ. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಸಿನಿಮಾ ಆಚೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಬಂದು ಆಗಿನ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಜನರ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಹೆಂಗಿತ್ತು ಮತ್ತೆ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಸಿನಿಮಾ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಟ್ಸ್ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಯಾವ ಥರ ಇತ್ತು?
Yeah. Shall I start?
Yes.
Shall I answer? Well, when the film was released, not only the common man, even the, you know, I showed it to a lot of writers. They all found it very confusing. They said, "Why do you make such a complex?" But I tell you, in the international circuit, this is my most successful film. When it was shown in Rome, all the 3 awards were given to this film: the Audience Award, Critics Award, and the Jury Award. See what happened. I went into the hall and we were all the nominees were seated in the second or third row, and I was sitting next to a jury member. She was literally fidgeting. He said, "That person has not come." One more, contender. She was so nervous. She was so fidgeting. I thought that man's film has won the award. So I was very casually sitting there. And the awards of best audience award goes to the rider, Stallion of Dreams. Riding the Stallion of Dreams. I was sitting there because my film is Kanasemba Kudureyaneri, not riding. And the jury was said, "They're calling you on the stage." I said, "No, it's not my film." And then I said, "It's my film. It's the title, English title is." So then I went and came down. Again they called me. Again the third time I called me. This is the stage. But inside India, a lot of film critics have not voted very high, don't think very high of this film. But the filmmakers, if you see such the YouTube, this one for the favorite film of Adur Gopalakrishnan, he mentions 5 names, 5 titles. One of them is Kanasemba Kudureyaneri. He says, "Subjectless Abrogito, Ronalds and Ekdin Tutidin, Sham Manuel's this one, Manthan, Vrishchagatas, Megada Katara, and this film." So that itself is a, of course, he mentions 2 of my films, this one and the Shadow of the Dawn, which you are going to see next month. And he not only says that, he says this is the best film made in the last 20 years. That's a big. Similarly, Gautam Ghosh has said very good, beautiful things about it, and Buddhadeva also that liked it very much. More than anyone else, it was Neeraj Mahaputra who praised the film to sky high. He was the man who taught me cinema, and he was a very important Oriental filmmaker. He said, he read a lot of good things about to say, and he thought Umashri is outstanding. Then he asked me, "Did she win the award?" I said, "No, she had won the award, national award for my previous film, Gulabi Talkies." And he said, "No, she should have got the award for this also." But I thought Virata has done a wonderful job. Man who does all small roles, is doing such a wonderful job. But he, of course, he didn't get national award or the state award, but he got international award for his performance.
You had a second question?
The other question is more internal towards the film. ನಿಮ್ಮದು ಒಂದು ಕುತೂಹಲ ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಈ ಕತೆ ಬರೆಯೋ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಈ ಲೊಕೇಶನಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕಂತನಾ ಅಥವಾ ಇಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಅ ಮಿಕ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಕ್ರಾಫ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಆನ್ ದ ವೆದರ್ ಆ ಥರ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ?
See, Reki, once we finalize zero in on the story, we go for Reki. Reki ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ which are the places where I want to shoot the film. Sometime in 80s, I think, one journalist asked me, one critic asked me, why do you have all strong verticals in your film and not horizontal? That kept me thinking, because see, and then I have the answer for that, because I am from Malnad, and all my all my visuals, this one is basically, verticals. Tall trees and mountain and things like that. And I said, when I read this story, I thought this story gives me an opportunity to work on the horizon. So I started work. Then suddenly I realized for area we will have horizontal, and for the Wade we will have vertical, because Wade stands for the authority and this man stands for openness. So I see when we go for Reiki, these things keep haunting. We keep on wondering, do I get these visuals here? And finally, see whatever the details you want. I said I want a window on the so that Mataraya can lift it and the light comes inside. Find one in the water. So that way, then sometimes what happens, while you are working on that, while you are on going for, while you have one for Reiki, and you notice certain things, and suddenly it occurs to you, oh, here is a very beautiful detail which I can incorporate into the narrative. So it's both ways. You have all the details on ready with you, and then look for the such details, or you see something happening and then bring it into your narrative. Both ways.
Thank you.
Ma'am. Here, ma'am.
Thank you for yet another wonderful movie. I've been following the series so far, and everything is so overwhelmingly thoughtful. In this movie, I have a couple of questions. Before that, I just wanted to express my connection with the movie. ಈ ಸರ್ತಿ ಮಾವಿಂದು ಇದು ಬಂದಾಗ ಸೀಸನ್ ಬಂದಾಗ ಯಾರತ್ತೋ when I was buying, I was talking to the seller and a point came with ಮಳೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಬಿತ್ತು ಸಪ್ಪೆ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ. So this movie reminds me of the small place. ಅವರು ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ ರೈನು ಅಥವಾ ಕಷ್ಟ ಅದನ್ನೇ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ. The more they go through, the more our guna, our character pakwa ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. That shows, and then repeatedly they have faith, they have belief, and but like if it is an atheist or non-believer, we just say that is random. But ಆ randomness ಆಗ್ತಿರೋದು, ಅವ್ರು ಫೇಲು ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಪ್ರತಿ ವರ್ಷ again they are ready to have the same quality of faith. So that it kind of reminds me that that the crux of the human is in faith and belief, whether it is God or something else or nature or relationships, whatever we hold close to our heart. So this movie again reminded me of that and how we should see our lives. My question are two questions. One about the sounds. Last two movies were very different in terms of sounds and dialogues, lots of dialogues in this one, and lots of bird sound. Throughout the movie I was seeing there are not many trees, but we have so many birds chirping and variety of birds. ಯಾಕೆ ಹಂಗೆ ಚೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿ ಅದೊಂದು. Second one is that ಅವಳು ಸೊಸೆ ಕೂತಿರ್ತಾಳಲ್ಲ, you have a shot which has not like in a way it's not required or not significant. At the same time there was a purpose, I believe. Or did you have a purpose? That reminded me of the movie Elizabeth by Shekhar Kapoor. ಅವರು ಒಂದು ಟೆಡ್ ಟಾಕ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಒಂದು ಸೀನ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, the queen comes to know that her lover is has a real person whom he's going to marry, and the shot is from really tall place. So ಆದ್ರೆ ಅವಳು ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಇರಬೇಕು because she is the queen. She has to tolerate that. ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ the empire, the monarchy is bigger than her. So I wanted to show the architecture and building everything from the above to show how small she is when it comes to these kind of decision and her responsibilities. So on those lines, you may have a different idea or thinking. I just saw that scene, it reminded me of that, so I wanted to know. Thank you.
This is actually camera angle. The philosophy of camera angles come to us through Soviet filmmakers of 1920s. In fact, ಅವರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದು ಅಸಿಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಬಿಡೋಕೆ ನಾವೇನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ದ ವೇ ಯು ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾಮ್ರಾ ಶುಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ದ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಆಂಬಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಫಿಲಾಸಫಿ ದ ಪಾಲಿಟಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ. While I was shooting here in this Wadi, I wanted to say that Wadi is a fascination for daughter. She's so fascinated by this. She counts pillars. She's so beautiful. I could have played hide and seek and all that. But for mother Hema, it's a kind of a claustrophobic. The kind of claustrophobia which we have seen in yesterday's film. For Tai Saheba, that was a claustrophobia. It's not any longer, uh, metaphor for grandeur or for richness or class. So I wanted to, like there's a dialogue also. She says, "Hena horoke," something like that.
ಹೆಣಕ
And
ಕುತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕಾಯೋ
how
ತರ
hena kaya,
ಹೆಣ ಕಾಯೋ ತರ
hena
ಆಗಿದೆ
kaya
ಅಂತ.
ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ. I wanted to show how to make audience experience the kind of trauma she's undergoing. So while I was planning the shots, I suddenly saw the beautiful balcony, and I was telling my camera, if I slowly trolley in, and then Hema is revealed as so she's sitting in a well. So then I think that came out very well. She's helpless, sitting alone in the easy chair, but she's not comfortable at all. So that the placement, her saree, her posture, and then the other props made her isolation and then this one come out strong.
Yeah, that frame is memorable, even though that's why I asked the question.
Just imagine what comes just before that. The daughter is counting the pillar. She says it's so beautiful, and then you use this. Says,
Contrast.
"Mommy, where are you?" Then you see this. That she's in the other world, other emotional world. She's totally lost. She's caught up in her own because husband has not come, and she's the one who have to
Have
take
to
care
deal
of
with it all
the
of
this
this.
this dead body and things like that.
And the second question about the sounds.
Birds.
Was this?
But you see, it's not true that only when there are trees you hear birds. Even in plain lands we hear. And one of the fascinating things is that from where do you get this sound? It's not. It's not. You hear the sound, but there are no trees around. You
Yeah.
don't see the birds in it. And one thing is that these birds, they have very high pitched voice.
Yeah.
So you can hear it from a distance.
Mm.
The place where we are shooting, where we shot this hut is Ittangi or somewhere. It's close to Bijapur. While we are shooting, we heard a lot of such noises. I was looking around, where are these birds? But then I don't know. From a distance you hear something like there are certain bird sounds you can hear it from distance. Crow is one such thing. Peacock is another one.
Yeah.
So that peacock I have used it for other reasons.
The dream.
For this one. When you see the word exteriors, I've used peacock. Peacock for that and small birds for this.
And there is an eagle also, I think, when Virada just turns around and says, yeah. So that also remember. I remember.
Yeah, and just last thing. I know Umashri is not here, but I just wanted to say I'm saying this not just physically but emotionally and in a holistic way. She knows her body so well.
Yeah.
It's just whatever role she's playing. I feel like she's a mother. I feel like she's my mother. If she's whatever role she's playing, it's just fantastic to watch her. It feels like she's with us, not in the silver screen.
I must tell you one small anecdote, of course, nothing to do with the film appreciation. He's such a committed actor. And I was telling my friend Saban that we should keep 3 sets of sarees, not torn in a similar way. So every third day she can change it. And we shot for 28 days. She refused to change her cloth. She said, because who knows, when I sit somewhere or when I rub my shoulder somewhere, it must have picked up something, it won't be there in the other side. So it was literally, smelling, but she pretended as if, she's very comfortable with that scene. Which doesn't happen with many stars. They're very fussy about their costumes
They're
being.
looking after overall.
Yeah. You have not washed it properly, you have not tailored it properly, things like that. Mostly never complained such kind of things. She's, in fact, one such, one very interesting thing happened in Gulabi talkies. There was a scene wherein she's watching the television, eating fish. So no, production designer, I'm planning to shoot the shot in around 11 o'clock. Keep one fish ready. And what what happened? I set the camera and I said, Master, this is the action. Here is your plate and here is this one. And when the shot is ready, then I said, bring the fish. And immediately, he brought one fish. And she gave the shot and she was literally chappers kontinadu. She was enjoying the fish. Then I jokingly asked her, I thought I'd say cut. I jokingly asked her, was it so tasty? Your chappers kontinadu. She put the plate down and said, where is this production manager? Call him. She said, what is the matter? Then I called him. She said, no, get me my slipper, I'm going to hit you. She said, what happened? And then I asked this production manager, why is she saying, sir, I ಹೇಳಿದಂಗೆ ಮರ್ತೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿತ್ತು ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ರೆಡಿ ಆದ ಸರ್ ನಂಗೆ ಫಿಶ್ ಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರು ಸಡನ್ ಆಗಿ ಓಡೋದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ದಂಡೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಒಂದು ಸೀಶು ಒಂದು ಫಿಶ್ ಬಂದಿತ್ತು ಸರ್ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಟ್ಟೆ ಬೇಯಿಸೂ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹಾಗೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟೆ ಸರ್ ಅದು ಹ್ಯಾಕ್ ತಿಂದ್ರು ಒಂದು ರೆಸಿಪಿ ಸೋ ಟೇಸ್ಟಿ ಅಂಡ್ ಸೋ ದಟ್ಸ್ ಸರ್ ಕಮಿಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್.
Anyone else?
Namaste, sir. Namaste, sir. So my question is more general. ನೆನ್ನೆನೂ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮೂವಿ ನೋಡಿದೆ, ಇವತ್ತು ನೋಡಿದೆ, and there is so much of detailing in all these films. It's like a meditation. ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಪಿಕ್ಚರ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಪೋಸ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್, ಪ್ರೀ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್, ಫಿಲ್ಮಿಂಗ್ and all. ಅದು ಕೊನೆಗೆ ತೆರೆ ಕಂಡಾಗ are there any instances where you thought this is how it will come out and audience perception was different and it was misinterpreted kinta bere tara interpretations bantu, positive and negative, and when it's negative, how did you deal with it or how did you justify it?
If somebody thinks it hasn't communicated or somebody finds a different meaning which are contradictory to my decision, I just keep it quiet. I keep quiet. I leave it to them. After all, once the film is made, it's no longer my product. It's your product. If you see something else, you're free to interpret it that way. I don't insist that, no, you should interpret it only this way. I try to explain my perspective. Even in the book that I have written about my films, I've clearly said, this is what I try to convey. If you get it, well and good. If you don't get it, if you have something bombs about it, you are free to have this opinion. That kind of openness one should have. So many times, what happens is when we don't intend something, suddenly we have not intended at all, but people get it. It's also fine. After all, some 40 people are working in the set. Something must have creeped in, and then it adds to the overall impact. Keep it.
ಓಕೆ, ನಮಸ್ತೆ ಸರ್. ಹೋಲ್ ಮೂವಿ ತುಂಬ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆಯಿತು ನನಗೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ನನ್ನೇನು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಜಸ್ಟ್ 2 ಸೀನು ನನಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಮನಸ್ಸಿಗೆ ಮುಟ್ಟಿತು. ಯಾವುದಂದರೆ, ಒಂದು ಅವರು ಹಿರಿಯನ್ನ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದು ಹೊತ್ತಾಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದು ಮನೆ ಹತ್ರ ಕೂರಿಸ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನೀನು ಹೋಗು ನೀನು ಅಂತ ಕಳಿಸುವಾಗ ನೀವು ಹೆಂಗ್ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದ್ರೋ ನಾನು ಹಂಗೆ ವಾಪಸ್ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ ಒಂದು ಸೀನು. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಆ ಹಿರಿಯ ಗೌಡ ಸತ್ತು ಹೋಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ನೀನ್ ಗುಣಿ ತೋಡ್ಬೇಕು ಬಾ ಅಂತ ಕರೆದಾಗ ಮುಸ್ಕ್ ಹಾಕೊಂಡು ಮಲ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಾನು ಬರೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಹೋಗಿ ಅಂತ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ನಿಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅವ್ರು ಸತ್ತು ಹೋಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ನಾನು ತೆಗ್ದಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ಅವಾಗ ನನಗೆ ಬೆಲೆ ಕೊಡ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ನೀವು, ಈಗ ನೀವು ನನ್ನನ್ನು ಕರಿಯಕ್ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ನಾನ್ ಯಾಕೆ ಬರ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ. ನನಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅನಿಸಿದ್ದೇನಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಎಂಥ ಮನುಷ್ಯ ಆಗಿರ್ಲಿ, ಎಂಥ ವೃತ್ತಿ ಆಗಿರ್ಲಿ, ಅವನಿಗೇ ಆದ ಒಂದು ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಅವನಿಗೇ ಆದ ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಾಭಿಮಾನ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದನ್ನ ನೀವು ತುಂಬಾ ಒಂಥರ ಮನ ಮುಟ್ಟೋ ಹಾಗೆ ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ನೀವು ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಅವ್ರದೇ ಆದ ಒಂದು ಬೆಲೆ ಇದೆ, ಒಂದು ಗೌರವ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ತೋರಿಸ್ಕೊಟ್ರಿ ಅಂತ ನನಗೆ ಅನ್ನಿಸ್ತು. ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಐ ವಾಂಟೆಡ್ ಟು ಕನ್ವೆ ವಿತ್ ದಿಸ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸೋ ಮಚ್ ಸರ್.
Anyone else? Questions? Okay.
Hello, sir. Namaskar. Again, thank you for the invite. It was a wonderful occasion for us to watch as well. Nandan Prashneet Tantandre, I think I've noticed in your filmography, right, a lot of your films are informed by novels and stories and, literature. Balita, for me personally, contemporary films that I grew up watching, right, it's very rare for me to come across films that are inspired from literature and more so which build upon the story. You change the narrative structure, what the crux of the story was, or what the narration was trying to tell. So how important do you think is the relationship between literature that is available or is being produced in parallel to cinema that's coming out on a day-to-day basis? Because it's not something I get to see rarely, but as someone who grew up as a reader, it's something I enjoy, especially when I see a filmmaker like you putting your own perspective into films. It's quite rare these days, so I just want to know your opinion. How do you see the state today?
Yeah, there are two ways of adapting a short story. Literary piece. One is to remain faithful to the text and just transfer the medium. So it's just whatever it is there in the story, you just give visual, equivalent. It's not interpretation, it's equivalent of the. The other one is that you pick the essence from the story and reinterpret it and find new meanings in it. And I find the second one more challenging and more interesting because you are not only reinterpreting, you are also developing a kind of intratextual references. Like you see, in this film, the Hiregauda is a very evil man. He rapes people, he kills. I said that I have heard many stories like that. You delete all those, details. I don't want that. What I want is a man who is on the deathbed, because then it becomes a metaphor for the feudalism. It's on the dying stage. I said, don't make him full flesh and blood. Make him a kind of a corpse, almost like a corpse. So when you start doing that, you find your own meaning in it. You find your own interpretation in it. That's a must. Second thing is that the way how literature communicates to the reader and a film communicates to the viewer is quite different. I've said it in many interviews. I think you must have read it also. In literature, a great writer like Anantmurthy, Shivaram Karanta, Kuvempu, they use words to sculpt an image. They use so many words to sculpt an image. Sometimes you cannot recreate on screen. Like the first, all marriages are like one another. How do you say that in literature, in cinema? You can't do that. Whereas cinema is the other way around, because there in literature, words are basically abstract. You use abstract words to create a concrete image in the minds of the readers, isn't it? But in cinema, it is the opposite way. Here, the image itself is concrete.
Yeah.
And the moment you see, you know what is there on screen. But if your narration remains at this stage, then the film doesn't transcend. So you need to look for images which transcend. Like in book, in this film. I said, Iria should cover himself with a blanket. Then I said, blanket to Bharatana. So, one hole irutte. But how do I transcend that? How do I give a life to the blanket? You keep on using it in very different ways. ಅದ್ರೊಳಗಿಂದಲೇ ಕೈ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. See, that's how, you turn the blanket into an image. It's no longer a blanket for you. It becomes an image. And when it becomes an image, it acquires meaning. It acquires meanings. In this case, it is, it's resistance from within, and then also this, only his hand comes and says, no, I won't come. He doesn't even, he's not even willing to show his face. So then, the images become a kind of a metaphor. This we need to understand. So one, in literature, it is abstract to concrete. Here it's concrete to abstract. So since you know this difference, and if you are a film director, you also have to know that you have to construct your narrative through images, not through words. You have to constantly look for images which transcend. So some of the images transcend it so very, which you can't get it, that kind of experience you don't find it in literature. This example, the use of hand and use of blanket, or somebody pointed out, you pointed out the tree. I said, I want to construct the area story
Flat.
through horizontal. But I told, we found a beautiful horizontal, play. But I said, the only thing is that it was only horizontal. Unless you have a vertical, horizontal won't get life. I said, I need a tree here. Then my production manager, the whole night, he planted, shifted one big tree and planted it there. And then I said, if it is only a tree, it just becomes a tree. But if I can tie some bells and some, red cloth, then it gets a kind of a religious text to it. Whereas in all maramas and all this, they tie a red cloth and so then it's not merely a tag, tree Allah. It becomes a religious, Just imagine, one sand detail brings new meaning to it. And then I had another advantage also. Because you have the small bells, my soundtrack becomes richer. Keep on hearing ting ting. Otherwise it's silent, boring. So this breaks the monotony and makes it live. And when these people throw video into the, service, and Umarshi comes looking for him, the only sound you hear is, tingling of the bell. So that makes it tense, So then I said, we need to have bells. I told my production manager, I need to have bell. He went and brought some 20 bells and hung on. So that's how it is, So every small details one need to work on these. That's why in cinema the details are very important.
And it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry, he was.
Yeah. Our Pamuk, our Pamuk, he said, the Turkish writer, he says, the details are very important. But details are more important in visual arts, cinema especially. Because in theatre it is not that important because there is suspension of disbelief. Here you don't have it. So you need to show that this is the tree, but this is not a mango tree. You are watching a mango tree and you have to tell your audience this is not a mango tree. That is very important.
No, since you mentioned about the clothing, because there is this image of them having only one shirt and one sari set. That's just there. They wash it, they put it at that time. He can't wear anything. And only in the last scene when he has given up his kulakasubu, what he's doing, he wears a new shirt. And I thought that was a beautiful sort of a detail when he goes up.
Both Umashi also wears. It's not a imaginary, in a dream she wears a very flashy thing.
Flash.
But this is not flashy, but the kind of sarees which she hasn't worn in any of the other scenes. The whole thing happens in just one day and one night.
So we have the actor who was then Guru Sitaya. Yeah.
Sawan Sarkar that he left.
Right.
Is there. When is Sawan?
Can you please share?
Sorry, Ben.
Can you please share your experience of your approach to this character? Only ಮೂರು ಕನಸುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ. So ಹಾಗೆ.
Swami has acted in other films, but not in this film. They're all actually,
ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈಗ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಮೂರು ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುತ್ತಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಅಪ್ರೋಚ್ ಹೇಗಿತ್ತು ಅಂತ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಅಪ್ರೋಚ್ ನೀವು ಅದನ್ನ ನಿಮ್ಮದ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುವಾಗ.
ಸರ್ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು ನನಗೆ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಬೇಕು, ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ಯೂಮ್ಗಳು ಇರಬೇಕು, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಸೀನ್ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಡೈಲಾಗ್ ಇದನ್ನ ಥರ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಿ, ಅದು ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ ಏನಂತ. ಆ ಸುಡುಗಾಡ್ ಸೀಸನ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ಯೂಮ್ಸ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಸವದತ್ತಿ ತಾಲೂಕಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಊರು ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ಹಾಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಅದು. ಅದನ್ನ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಾವು ಅದೇ ಥರ ತಗೊಂಡ್ಬಂದು ಸರ್ ನಮಗೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ಯೂಮ್ ಅದು ಹಳೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅವ್ರು ತಗೊಂಡ್ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಲ್ಲ, ಅದನ್ನ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಸುಮಾರು 8 ದಿವಸ 9 ದಿವಸ ನೀರಲ್ಲಿ ನೆನೆ ಇಟ್ಟು ಅದ್ರ ಕಲರ್ ಬರೋ ತರ ಅದು ಏಜಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಸೊ ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು, ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ ರಿಗಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ಯೂಮ್ಸ್. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ನಮಗೆ ಸರ್ ಹೇಳೋದು ಹಿಂಗ್ ಬೇಕು ಹಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ, ಅವ್ರು ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ನಾವು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions to sir? Or
in fact, my editor in this film is Swami. In another film, he has done a main role, and in another film, he is the hero. But editing in this film is very special because you are going back and forth, and to structure that. That's a kind of a philosophical approach to it. Why do I tell the same dream twice? A lot of people have asked me that. Why did you tell the same? I said, there's a reason for it. When you listen to the story, in the first version, you think Madhuraya is right and Iriya is wrong because he's drunk, he's hungry. See, we tend to disbelief there, this one. I think, how can he be right? This man is right. And I narrate the same thing again. And this time, you know that he was right and Madhuraya was the one who was lying. And you see, when the second, because when I see the first version, we also think the area must be wrong. But in the second, when we are seeing the second video, suddenly we realize, oh my God, I didn't realize that at all. He was right, and this man is the man who is. It's not so simple, Allah. Because now we design the shots in such a way, it's the same action repeating. But I can't repeat the same shot, then it becomes monotonous. Then you have to use two perspectives. One from Veera's perspective, the other is from Madhuraya's perspective. So when I am shooting from Iriya's perspective, the same lines, but the perspective is different. When I am shooting the same thing from the Madhuraya's perspective, this is very difficult to balance, and it took a lot of pain to balance that. And without making you feel repetition or monotonous, you have to create the concept of the scene. So this kind of editing is much more challenging than the linear narration, where it is simple. You are building on the emotions. Here you are building on the ideas.
You had a question.
So first of all, thanks to everyone for organizing this interaction. Love the film. So my question is, so when Rudri asks for offerings to Guru Siddha, so there are some set of people who like just want to negate their beliefs, and there are some set of people who who like to believe it and want something good out of it. I wanted to know whether there was any more metaphysical meaning to it.
Come once again. I just
Yeah. So there is one
Some
set of
people-
people who negate, who just discard the Rudri's belief of arrival of Guru Siddha, and some people who want to benefit out of it and give her want to give her something. So I wanted to know if there's something more.
See, the shopkeeper, he says it's a myth. No, he doesn't even use the myth. He says Sulu. So they do not even recognize this fact. Because they think, because you see, there's also a caste belief. This man with his head, marks on his forehead and his dress, you can make out he's from it's like upper caste, probably a Lingayat. This man is from a lower community. So they do not even respect these people's beliefs. But at the same time, when the Guru Siddha comes, everybody want to make benefit out of that. Of all the people, who makes maximum use of it is Matadaya.
Yeah.
In the first dream also he is the beneficiary. In the second dream also he is the beneficiary. In the second dream he says, the Hirya died just now. So that you give him, so that in the eyes of the villagers, he has gained a kind of a sanctity. This one. So this is the kind of politics, which we all the time play. That's why I said the film is about the politics of our perception. It's nothing to do with Dalit politics or with this one, but how our perception itself is conditioned by various external forces. Caste, upbringing, the whole notion of scientific temper. You can always question, scientific temper can only tell you what it is, but it can't give you kind of a mental, that myth has given them kind of a strength. If you, defeat that, they also lose faith in themselves.
Thank you everyone for participating.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Amulya ji, for being here and moderating the session. And finally, one and all here who is present, who joined the film, and for that wonderful observations and question and answer and submissions. So I request all of you to kindly join in the month of January 9th and 10th. We will be having Nayineru and Hasina, which will be shown here, 120 minutes, again in Kannada and subtitled with English. So please come back for this screening. We are deeply privileged to have Girish sir here with us today joining and celebrating this cinematic journey. On behalf of National Gallery of Modern Art, Bengaluru and Ministry of Culture, I would request Ananya ji to kindly come and give a small memento of honor to Amulya ji and Girish sir.